Okay, folks, here we go. The UK House Price Index, according to Zoopla, this is the UK House Price Index at Zoopla over all the data that they collect overall, and they're talking about this is up to April 2024. This is Zoopla's insights. Now, to be honest, uh, nationwide, Halifax have got their own details and data about the housing market overall. I kind of think they're limited information because it's only their customers, but Zoopla's a huge organisation. It lists a lot of estate agents' properties and actually sells them as well and helps sell them as well. So they've got a huge amount of data they've got access to. So outside of the normal UK house price index statistics, this is probably one of the best ones, the second best one, I would say, outside of that. This is right on the back of NatWest, Santander, and Nationwide are announcing today that their 5-year fixed rate deals will go up in interest rate value. So this is the reason for this is because they're now not as optimistic as a base rate reduction anytime soon because there's kind of a belief that inflation's still going to hover around about the 3%, 3.5% level in the coming months overall. So maybe base rates we could possibly drop to the second half of the year, the latter half of the latter of the second half of the year. But I don't think it's going to be dropping anytime soon unless there's some major catastrophe that happens, and that's not really what you want to happen anyway. Good thing is market stabilization. That's the key here. You have to be realistic, and the message will come across in this more than likely. You have to be realistic in your pricing to make sure you're not going to get these astronomical figures unless you've got that one-off property which is exceptional in comparison to everybody else's. And it really will bring in a lot of buyers. But if it's a higher price point, more than 300,000, it's probably unlikely it's going to go through an astronomical figure. Uh, You'll be able to tell that in the first 4 weeks anyway. If you're not getting any major viewings in the first four to 6 weeks in terms of your property, then it tells you straight away, it probably is the price point. It's putting people off. Now, it's not necessarily the fact that the price point is too high or the price you're asking far too much for your property. It's possible that the person that's not in the market, the buyer that you're looking for, is not in the market at that particular point in time. I had a conversation with someone recently, just before I go over this, about, why is my house not selling in a particular area? And they just wanted to know in general why it wasn't. And I went, well, you're in a small village. You've literally only got maybe 200 or 300 houses in that village, and it's pretty remote. And able to find a buyer who actually wants to live in that village is going to be a limited market, definitely. That's key here. Not everybody wants to live in remote locations. Not everybody wants to live in cities. Not everybody wants to live in towns or villages or other areas. And that is that not everybody wants to live in a housing estate. All these different things. You've got all different people that have all different things. If you look at the weekly property updates that I do, it'll tell you straight away. For example, East Neuk. So there's East Neuk. Sunday night, we'd just passed. East Neuk listed 5 properties with all the estate agents in the East Neuk area in last week, and 5 properties were actually sold. So literally just 5 buyers in the marketplace at that point in time. Now, if you look right now and look at how many properties are on the East Neuk area, I'm going to take a quick look just out of this example. I'm going to jump onto Zoopla. I'll tell you, and you can do this for yourself actually. So we're going to jump on. I'm going to jump on Zoopla. I'm going to try KY10. I'll put in KY10 because that's the answer of the area. So literally at this point in time, there is 53 properties available for sale in the Anstruther area. So if there's 53 properties available for sale in the Anstruther area, and there's only 5 selling every single week, that's literally 10 weeks worth of stock. That's 2.5 months almost in order on average to sell a property in the East Neuk area. Shows you for straight away, for example. So 53 properties in the East Neuk area up for sale right now. So that gives you a lot of information, a lot of insight into what's going on in the property market right now. Okay, let's get back to business and talk about the Zoopla statistics and where we are actually going with them and where everything is going in terms of the market itself. Okay, right, let's get the headline statistics up and we'll give you the executive summary. So here we are, let's go with this. So according to Zoopla, the annual house price inflation right across the whole of the UK is minus 0.2%, unchanged from February itself. Prices broadly are static, but sales volumes are up 12% year on year. In other words, there's more supply, but there's more actual sales. 64% of homes in markets with price falls are down from 82% in October. Higher mortgage rates continue to impact buying power. Annual mortgage costs for buyers are 61% higher than 3 years ago, two-thirds down to higher rates and one-third down to higher prices. So higher interest rates and higher prices. And we're going to talk about that and give you an indication and an example of what is actually happening with the mortgages and how much it actually costs to buy a mortgage and how much mortgage rates have actually gone up and how it's affected buyers themselves. Now, Zoopla are going to say in the UK house price overall, according to them, buyers in the south of England face the greatest impact, compounded by the stamp duty and other costs, because they've got huge prices in comparison to us in Scotland, which will keep price inflation in check. Price inflation is split between the south and the rest of the UK to continue. Okay, the market is on track for 1.1 million sales in 2024, and that's 10% up on last year. Now, the key here is the market is on track for 1.1 million sales, 10% up on last year. That is really the health of the housing market overall. It's not property prices really, it's the number of transactions. And it's quite healthy. We've got another 100,000 properties coming in to be sold in the market than what we did last year, because it means there's more choice, therefore it will stabilize out house prices overall, because there's more choice for buyers to have as well. Plus the fact all these jobs that are associated with the housing market and the number of properties getting bought will be maintained as a natural result, if not just a wee bit higher in the number of jobs available in that marketplace, because the number of transactions are a bit higher as well, because you need a certain amount of people to do all these transactions. So let's have a look at the measures of market activity as they continue to increase. We'll have a look at a wee graph here. Zoopla's got up in here. And this will give you a strong indication about what's going on. I'll tell you what everything says. So this first one here, according to Zoopla, measures of market activity continue to increase. Buyer demand is up 4% year on year. Number of sales agreed is up 12% year on year, which is good news. Flow of new supply is up 14%, so there's more choice. And stock of homes for sale is actually up 20%. So again, more choice. So you can see that overall, how there's more choice overall. And this is why house prices are beginning to stabilize, because simple supply and demand, as the supply increases, the price actually stabilizes and comes down and levels off. Okay, so what did they go on to say about the rebound in sales volumes more than prices? That's what it's all about, really. So the housing market continues to register a sustained upturn in sales in the UK, while house prices, UK house price inflation, remains broadly static overall. The market is more balanced than it has been since before the pandemic. So good news there. It's more balanced than it's been since the pandemic. And this is positive news, and it means that people have a chance of moving in 2024, so long as sellers remain realistic on pricing. Now, while static prices are not worsening affordability, though. So Zoopla then goes on to say more homes for sale and renewed confidence amongst buyers continues to support sales agreed, which are 12% higher year on year. The number of sales agreed has been higher than the last year for the last 4 months. The housing sales pipeline is now rebuilding after a period of lower sales when mortgage rates spiked in 2022 and 2023. Now, Zoopla's data shows that the housing market remains on track for 1.1 million sales in 2024, and that's up 10% on 2023. The recovery in sales, they say, is starting to be reflected in other data, such as mortgage approvals for home purchases, which were 32% higher in February 2024. Now, this is returning towards pre-pandemic levels. The 4 to 6 month time lag between agreeing a sale subject to contract and moving means sales completions data is yet to register an upturn, but this will emerge in the coming months overall. Let me show you a wee graph about house purchase mortgage approvals rebounding to pre-pandemic levels. Here we are right here. So you can see it right here if you zoom in on it. If we'll zoom in on that, So what we've got here is February of 2014. This is house price mortgage approvals rebounding to pre-pandemic levels. So if we see if we go right along here and along the bottom, February 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, right up to February 2024. And it was measured every single time, house price mortgage approvals ratings and the number of mortgage approvals each month in the February of each year. And you can see how it goes all the way through and then it drops like a stone when the pandemic comes along, obviously, because nobody's wanting mortgage approvals, hits the roof, and then it starts to stabilize back down to a realistic number about where it was back in 2015, 2016, 2017 levels overall. So the good news is it's actually stabilizing out in terms of the mortgage approval numbers, and it's actually gone up. So more sales happening, but more choice as well overall. So what can we say about that? Well, Zoopla goes on to say then house price inflation is broadly flat overall. You can tell that by the UK house price index, according to Zoopla, is minus 0.2%. They say that their latest index shows that house prices are firming as the market activity improves. Annual house price inflation is largely unchanged since the last month, and it stands at minus 0.2% at the end of March 2024. Now, house prices continue to fall at a slowing rate across 5 English regions. Notice it's just 5 English regions, so it's probably southern England, and I'll explain that a bit more. Covering the southern England and the East Midlands, prices are down almost minus 1.7%. Sorry, minus 1.7% down across the east of England. Improving market activity in recent months has resulted in house price inflation turning positive across 3 regions in the north of England, West Midlands, Wales, Scotland, and also Northern Ireland. So let's have a wee look and see. We'll see the map towards the end here. They then go on to say that mortgage rates remain 2 times higher than the recent past. So what does Zoopla say on mortgage rates overall? Housing markets continue to adjust to the ending of the ultra-low mortgage rates since 2022. Mortgage rates spiked twice last year, the last 2 years, and at the end of 2022 and over the summer of 2023, as interest rates increased to combat rising inflation. I mean, the primary impact of the housing market was a 23% drop in sales over 2023, and the modest house price falls, which did very little to help reset housing affordability. Average mortgage rates for a 5-year fixed rate at 75% loan to value have fallen back to 4.5% over recent months. But as I've said, Santander, NatWest, and Nationwide have announced today that they're going to increase their average 5-year rates. So Zoopla then go and say they've started to drift higher in the recent weeks on shifting expectations that interest rate cuts will be interest rate cut later this year. Zoopla expect mortgage rates to remain average of 4.5% over 2024, which in their view is consistent with the plus or minus 1% house price growth. Let's have a wee look at the graph. It gives us in graphical form. Here we are here. Okay, so this is what you're seeing right here. Across the bottom again, March 2014, 15, 16, all the way up to 2024. You can see mortgage rates plateauing around 4.5%. You've got it here and it drops like a stone. In 2014, it starts to drop. Mortgage rates keep dropping in 2021. Then after the pandemic, it gets to March 2022 and it goes crazy and starts to increase. Now, this is because primarily mortgage rates are dropping. We've got more money to spend because we have got more money in our pocket. Therefore, we then run out and buy houses at higher values and spend more money on everything else. Goods and services go up in that respect. And then they increase base rates deliberately here. As you can see, this big from 2021 to 2023 and onwards, and then it's stabilizing off in 2024. But these 2 peaks here are as a result of trying to curb inflation by the Bank of England and increasing mortgage rates overall. The Liz Trust was the first one, I think it was, but the budget it didn't go according to plan and scared the markets, and therefore swap rates between banks became a lot higher, even though base rates weren't going up. And then that was sorted out when she left, and the budget was reinstated, redone by Jeremy Hunt and Rishi Sunak, and then it was sorted out from there. And then again, inflation started to creep up, and on the back of fuel costs and everything that was going on in the east. And that's why mortgage rates, base rates actually went up, and therefore mortgage rates followed suit. Now there's an expectation that mortgage rates were going to drop, but they've not. But the swap rates have actually dropped as a result. Hence the reason why banks could have lending at the 4.5% level right now, because swap rates between banks are actually pretty good in comparison. So the mortgage costs for home buyers, 60% are 60% higher than 2021. This is the issue here. This is why higher priced properties are actually taking a lot longer to sell. And this is why people that have got their house on the market need to be more price sensitive in terms of their pricing strategy, and no longer looking at an option of saying, I think I'm maybe going to get 10 or 15% over my home report value, because that can't be realistic, because of mortgage costs are mainly the one it instigates everything to buy a home, mortgage holders, and therefore their costs have gone up by 60% since 2021. So Zoopla then goes on to say then about this. When mortgage rates start to rise, Zoopla reported a shift from 2% mortgage rates to 5% would deliver a 30% reduction in buying power for mortgage home buyers. See that? A 30% reduction. So therefore, if you were on a £100,000 available mortgage, you would probably only be able to buy £70,000 worth of a mortgage with the same amount of money every single month that you're putting out. Assuming that the borrower kept the repayments and deposits the same. Buyers withdrew from the market in the face of higher borrowing costs and generally uncertainty over the economic outlook, and this drove transactional levels lower over 2023. That's the number of properties sold right across the UK, and in all the regions as well. Now, while base rates look to have peaked overall at the 5.5% just now, and consumer confidence is improving, the reality is that annual mortgage repayments for a typical buyer using a 70% loan to value for an average price home is still much higher than it was 3 years ago. This continues to act as a drag on buying power and levels of house price inflation. So moving from a sub 2% mortgage rate in March 2021 to 4.5% today, the annual mortgage payments for a home purchase have risen by 61%. 61%, wow. From 7,100, the average it costs for a mortgage holder has gone from 7,100 to 11,400 a year. That's an increase of just under £4,000 on top of what their mortgages used to cost. That can't come out of nowhere. And when you factor in the fact that you've got to earn another third of that in order to pay your taxation, national insurance, and then end up with 2/3, which is the £4,000 extra, you've literally got to earn another £6,000 in your salary in order just to maintain the same mortgage you did in 2021, when it was at 2%, the sub 2% mortgage rates, as opposed to today. So 2/3 of this increase is a result of higher mortgage rates. However, 1/3 is actually down to the fact that average house prices are still 13% higher than March 2021, according to Zoopla. So the higher mortgage rates have really hit southern England the hardest. At regional level and at country level, there has been a 50 to 70% increase in mortgage repayments for a typical buyer between 2021 and 2024. The largest monetary impact is the south of England, where house prices are significantly higher. So the annual cost of a mortgage repayments for the average house price, average home, is more than £5,000 higher per annum than in 2024 than 2021. Across the southwest, southeast, and east of England. This rises to a high of an extra £7,500 a year needed in London per annum. Across other regions of the country, like of the UK, which is Scotland and that, the increase is lower, ranging between 2,350 and 3,900 a year. But that's still a significant amount of money. When you take out 2,350, that means at the lowest, somebody's got to find an extra £200 a month just to keep up with the mortgage payments that they were on, in pre-2021. And is that really sustainable? And what else has to go then as a result of that? If their mortgage goes up that high, what else do they have to cut back on? And who does that affect? What industry? What job? What, is this the tourist industry? Is this the restaurant industry? Is this the, all these different industries that suffer? The luxury industries usually typically suffer first when people rein in their spending. And that's the ones that could be hit. So let me show you the graph for this, actually, and I'll give you the numbers and show you right across the region. So here we are right here. This is quite interesting when we look at this. This is how much mortgage rates have gone up on average in each area. So a typical example at the top, northeast of England, it was in 2021, the average mortgage repayments in 2021 March was 3,750. In 2024, the average is now 6,090. That's a 62% increase in mortgage payments, and the difference it represents 2,350 per annum. But if you look into Scotland, average mortgage in 2021 was 4,390. Now it's 7,060. Now, it's nothing to do with the fact they're getting a higher mortgage. It's the very fact it's the cost of interest rates going up. And a third of that's the cost of the price of the property going up, but two-thirds of that is mainly the interest rates going up as well. So 61% more somebody needs than they paid for their mortgage in 2021 just to sustain the same level of buying. It's unsustainable if you look at it. As I said before, something else has to go then if you have to compromise on that. Could that be the holiday you're going to have every year? The £3,000 holiday. Therefore, the holiday goes. Therefore, the tourism industry suffers in order for you to keep up the same payments to keep the existing house that you've got. Or do you take the decision to downsize? Sometimes that's a short-term decision, and that should not necessarily be taken. That's why it's important to speak to your estate agent before you make these decisions, because sometimes the entry and exit costs of buying and selling a property just to downsize to another one in the short term to try and save money ends up costing more overall because of the entry and exit costs of buying and selling. So if you look at as well, if you look at places like Wales, look at Wales. I mean, 5,170 per year was March 2021 for a mortgage, and now it's 8,820 per year. It's a 3,650 increase and 70% overall. So the UK overall has gone up 61%. You can see there. So you can see your own places if you're looking right across the whole of the country. I mean, look at London. Average mortgage payments per year in London for a property is 15,580. Now it's 23,110. Let me just be clear about this. That is the minimum wage right now, 23,110. And that's the average mortgage payments in London for the year. That's almost now that's actually with the tax taking off. So even minimum wage, when you work that out, that's going to be significantly less. We're getting that. So there's no way you could ever afford the average mortgage payment in London. And that just shows you where everything is right now in terms of buyer affordability and that, and how it's important to keep in mind when you're going on the market, or if you're on the market right now, to have the proper pricing strategy and also listen to your estate agent. And if you need to realign that price because you're motivated to do something now, then you probably need to realign that price. Now, what I talk about realignment, I talk about actually bringing your price in line that will get somebody through the door who might necessarily pay a bit more because they realise the home report's worth a bit more. But once they're through the door, they actually see the value in what you've got, rather than actually just relying on the pictures and descriptions. It's about getting someone through the door. That's the most important point. That's the most important thing possible. It's not about getting somebody. It's fair enough. It's getting somebody to lift the phone or email or make contact, but then it's getting them through the door for the viewing is the most important thing after that. That is the key. And that takes good strategy to do that. But it's overall, it's not one big thing that will do that and make that happen. It's an overall strategy, making sure you've got your marketing right, making sure you've got your contact points right, making sure you're answering the phone after hours, making sure you're taking messages after hours, making sure you're following up on emails getting sent, all these different things. And if you're getting if you're getting all these different things right, then it's compounding overall to the result that you should get at the end. Remember, it's only one person you need to buy. But again, if you look at your regional area, ask your estate agent how many properties have been sold in your area, your postcode area, for example, you'll know straight away. Look at Leven, for example. KY8 area is the Levenmouth area. There's 12 to 15 properties bought and sold every week in the Levenmouth area. Therefore, there's only really two people every single day making a decision in Levenmouth, looking to buy in Levenmouth as well. That's it, two people. So when you look at that finite market overall, and you've got a lot of properties in the Levenmouth market coming on at this point in time, because they do come on at this time of year, then you're competing against with a lot of other properties and a lot of property. And I know everybody thinks their house is wonderful, and yes, I would absolutely agree with that. But the buyers have more choice. And if you're getting two buyers in the market every single day joining that market, but also two buyers leaving that market in the Levenmouth area, then you need to think about a proper pricing strategy. You need to think more lateral and see a bigger picture here, and not just focus on the fact that why is no one looking at my property? Why my property is actually wonderful compared to everybody else's? But you've got a finite audience looking for Levenmouth. You've got a finite audience looking for East Newton. You've got a finite audience looking for St Andrews. You've got everybody want to live in these areas, but is it practical for them to live in these areas? And can they afford to live in these areas? These are all things that actually filter all these people out to basically get one or two people, and you're actually looking to actually seriously buy the property. So it's more quality rather than quantity it comes down to. And it's more about targeting the right people and getting the right people through the door in order to get them to the right level. So don't be disheartened if you don't have a huge amount of viewers. There's no surprise. It's the days of the boom are over. There's no surprise if you've not got a lot of viewers through the door. Days of the boom are over. It's a waiting game. Take this as probably a bit of relief, if you can say anything. In Spain, it takes 2 years on average to sell a property. In Spain. In the UK, it takes about 60 days, which is 2 months, to sell a property. And yet in Spain, it takes 2 years. Do you think they're disheartened? Maybe. Okay, so what's driving all this? There's other things as well to take into account. Stamp duty definitely adds to buying costs in the southern England area because of their high price points, as well as even in the Scotland as well, sometimes in the higher price points, 300,000 upwards. It's not just mortgage costs that impact the buying decisions overall. Higher house prices also mean stamp duty costs and land and build transactions tax, it's called in Scotland, are much greater across southern England, adding to buying costs. Some 75% of all annual stamp duty receipts are from purchases across southern England, with these regions accounting for 50% of all housing sales. Remember, England's got 10 times the amount of people in there than Scotland has in terms of population. So more than likely they'll have 10 times the amount of houses. Just shows you why England is so dominant when it comes to the housing market, housing statistics. This is why we look at the Scottish housing statistics only when we are actually talking about the house price index. It comes out from the government themselves. Um, Zoopla likes to look over the whole market because Zoopla is a UK business. Okay, so buyers are open to looking further. Let's be honest and clear about that in the search for better value. This is where I see better value can actually come. For example, look at Levenmouth with the train station. Now, Levenmouth's got a new train station. It's going to be coming in June 2024, or just a wee bit later than that. There seems to be a wee bit of hiccup in there. A wee bit later than that, but you can clearly see there why people would then think if it's more affordable to live in Leven, and they've got just the same type of houses, if not a wee bit better, and it's better value for money, and we've got direct access to a beach, and we've got access to the train station, which could take me into work because I work in Edinburgh, and I don't need to work in Edinburgh every single day, and I could work remotely most days in my house, then why would I keep paying so much money to live in Edinburgh in some places where the prices are so astronomically high? Literally, for some people, they could end up selling their house and be mortgage free by moving to a different area. Wouldn't that be nice? Mortgage free, just because you've moved to a different area. So it's clearly evident that the borrow cost is higher in England, and people are looking for better value for money and affordability, but it's actually getting in front of these people by using Zoopla and Prime Location and Rightmove and S1 Homes and all these different websites that will target all these people, plus retargeting strategy on social media to actually hit people that are actually definitely looking for properties, and using a proper advertising campaign and marketing campaign behind your property, using video content, using photographs, using emotive descriptions, and using headline banners, and actually targeting through newspaper websites as well. They've actually said, Zoopla though, say, however, some buyers are open to looking further afield to get what they need. Their latest consumer survey of Zoopla shows a third of households that want to move are looking to move out of their local area to secure a home, the home they actually require overall. Now, this takes me on to then to look at this one. 6 in 10 homes in markets registering annual price falls. So 60% are registering annual price falls. So Zoopla says the squeeze on housing affordability with higher mortgage rates, um, lower income growth, and rising living costs are keeping house prices under steady downward pressure across England. Analysis of the granular local authority house price indices reveals that 64% of homes are in markets are still registering annual price falls. Now remember, this is over the whole of the UK. We're not just talking about Fife here. This is lower than the 82% recorded last October. And the scale of these price falls is relatively modest, remember. In most cases, it's between 0 and -3%. So it's not in earth shattering. Literally -3% would mean it would be back last year or the year before's prices. So that's nothing to really can be concerned about as such, especially if you're living in your house and you've chosen it as your family home for the next 5 or 10 years. It's shown on average that 50% of the audience, 50% of people actually wait about 10 years before selling their home, and then another 50% wait to 15 to 20 years to sell their home. So people are staying in their homes a lot longer, and using them and making good use of the spaces that they've got, especially outdoor gardens, outdoor garden areas. Now lockdowns taught us that it can be another usable area for maybe a home office as well, built at the back. Now Zoopla then goes on to say at a regional and country level, the coverage of homes and markets with price falls is greatest in England. No surprise there, where 95 to 100% of homes are now in local markets with annual price falls. East Midlands also has a high proportion of markets with price falls at 93%. Now, across the rest of Great Britain, Zoopla goes on to say there are signs of improvement in pricing, with a decline in the proportion of homes in local markets with annual price falls across 6 regions. Scotland has pockets of lower prices, but at national level, prices haven't fallen year on year in Scotland. And as the UK's most affordable region, with the average price of 142,000, the North East now has no areas with annual price falls. Let me just show you the graph here. We'll be finishing quite soon, actually. So here we are here. So this is it here. So this is price falls remain embedded in southern England. You can see it through this graph. So you can see in October 2023 is the grey bar, and March 2024 is the purple bar. And this is price falls remain embedded in the southeast of England. So you can see eastern England. So price falls year on year are still the same. Southwest, and then you've got southeast, and you've got London. You've got East Midlands, you've got Wales. So Wales, West Midlands, Yorkshire and Humbershire, Scotland, they're all showing price falls, not as much as the year before. You've got Northwest, you've got the Northeast as well overall. Okay, so hopefully that's given you a really good insight. So there's no signs, let me be clear about this. There is no signs of an immediate uptick, according to Zoopla, in house price inflation. They expect UK house prices to continue to firm over 2024, but they don't expect house price inflation to start accelerating again. The current trends in price inflation and divergence between the south and the rest of the UK are expected to continue over the coming months. Much depends on the outlook for interest rates and how this actually influences mortgage rates overall. Now, fixed mortgage rates today already reflected expectations of interest rate going up in the future, and don't expect any major changes in average mortgage rates over the rest of the year. But what the housing market needs most is continued price stability, which will create an environment for continued growth in house sales overall. So everything to look forward to. Let me just show you finally the price regional areas and changes in price according to Zoopla statistics. Here we are here. We'll just zoom in here and we'll have a wee look. You can see there, look, overall Scotland has come up year on year on Zoopla's house price index by 1.9%, Northern Ireland up 4.4%, East Northeast up 1.3%, Northwest up 1.1%, Yorkshire and Humber up 0.8%, West Midlands up 0.5%, Wales up 0.7%. But you can see the eastern of the Midlands, England, London, Southeast, and the Southwest are all down, but modestly down, not huge changes. Regional, look at main areas. Glasgow up 2.5%. We have Edinburgh up 0.4%. So Edinburgh's actually stabilising in terms of house prices. Glasgow's still soldiering on as we speak, and according to Zoopla overall. But there's not huge amounts overall actually in reductions, which is good news overall, definitely for the house price index. And let's have a wee look according to the Zoopla's house price averages. Here we are. Here, there's house price averages. Just zoom in there. You can see that according to Zoopla. Now, this is the properties actually listed on Zoopla, then sold on Zoopla. So that's what they're comparing against. So they're saying the United Kingdom average house price is 264,500. The 20 city composite, which is the one below, is £304,600. Now, see what I mean about 3,400. No, £304,600. When you look at that in the city, how it's so astronomically high in comparison to, for example, Fife is sitting at 165,000, 167,000 for an average price. And then you're looking at Scotland, which is roughly around about, Scotland's typically around about the 195,000, which again is very affordable in comparison to a city. Why would you be living in a city now? Unless, if it's not absolutely necessary and it's still costing you all that money in a mortgage cost. Why would you not think about relocating? There's a lot better places, believe me. It gives you a lot better quality of life as well and affordability overall. I mean, effectively, you could move to a different area completely, end up paying off your mortgage completely because you've got enough equity built up in your house that you bought in the city, and then you could probably have even more money left for taking holidays every single year with your family. Now that would be a pretty good proposition, wouldn't it? Just saying. You think about that. A lot of people just don't see that. They can't see the forest for the trees sometimes. They don't understand that they can actually have a far better quality of life just by a few simple changes in terms of what they're doing. So let's go back to the house prices again. We can see there Glasgow 149,000 according to Zoopla is the average price in the Glasgow area. Uh, Again, Glasgow 149,000. That's a first-time buyer territory on average. Edinburgh 270,000. Well, 271. Then you've got London 535,000. Yeah, I'll take 5, please. No, I won't. Aberdeen 136,000. See how Scotland is so affordable to live in comparison to living down south. Just saying. Maybe we should think about relocating to Scotland. Anyway, hopefully you've got a good insight into where the market is according to Zoopla right now, and that's given a good insight into overall where you should be thinking in terms of if you're moving or if you're buying and where you are right now. All I could say, if you need more information, please feel free to reach out to me. And until next time, guys, I'm Jim Parker for Fife Properties TV. Bye-bye for now.